What is going on, everybody? John Ramdeen and Robin Black talking about a bout that's going down Nashville, Tennessee on the same card as Artem Lobov and Cub Swanson. My mind is so blown I couldn't even say Artem Lobov's name. But when you think about this super cool fight at 135 pounds, the former WEC champion Eddie Wineland, the powerhouse, taking on the super speedy, and you mentioned it, when you think about Greg Jackson's camp and you think about Carlos Condit and you think about Donald Cerrone and Diego Sanchez and John Jones and Holly Holm, you think about, and Cub Swanson, creativity, and John Dodson's no different. His timing, his rhythm, his speed, all those things, really awesome to watch him inside of the cage.
Super cool, super cool. I was trying to line up with him when I was in Albuquerque, but as I was texting him, he thought I was texting him from Korea.
Oh, right.
Which was,
and you hung out with him for the Iron Fist stuff.
Yes, we, myself and John Dodson and Yves Edwards.
Yeah.
And yeah, we had a really good time. We watched fights together. John's a very smart guy, very kind guy. I also talked to Brandon Gibson when I was out there working with those guys, and I mentioned the fighters, and he said, yeah, Dodson is the hardest, pushes him the most to perform holding pads, because we're talking about speed and unpredictability
and precision,
and power. That little dude, I dare you to try to snag his girl's purse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I dare you. Like, he's a little, like,
you're not going to outrun him.
No.
And then he's going to kick your legs out, and he decides to stay out. He's going to lay you out.
So he's a fantastic fighter, man. He's a fantastic dude. But you start to think about it. So now, 135 pounds. Obviously, I'm going to put myself in Eddie Wineland's shoes, or in the shoes of somebody facing Dodson. I was about to go. They tell me I'm fighting John Dodson. I would just retire.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, all right, no, I'm not. But you put yourself in Eddie Wineland's shoes. The obvious is maybe a mistake. You think to yourself, I want to keep him at distance. He has spent his entire lifetime being outranged and outreached, and with people trying to keep him at distance. His whole life, every session, every training partner, every sparring session, he is about getting inside. So you must accept the reality that he will, and work with that truth.
So now, if that's eliminated, the idea of Eddie Wineland making it count, being precise, because you know Dodson's going to give you a bunch of things. So when he comes in, how important is it that Eddie Wineland makes sure that he lands those attacks to send the message, to hurt Dodson, to slow him down so he can finish the kill sometime in those 15 minutes?
Yeah, so the intuitive, all right, you got a shitty coach, a brand new guy, and an average fighter, or somebody's analyzing it and going with the obvious, and you go, oh, we got to keep Dodson on the end of our jab. Nobody does that. So that's not going to happen. So the next layer that we're going to try is on his attacks. We're going to try to intercept the knees and punches and stuff. Maybe we'll have a better chance of that. But at least if we introduce that to John, we introduce the fact that when he is coming in, he's at risk. Now he's needing to play a game where he's all the way out, which does allow us to do something at distance a little more, and he has to find the right time all the way in. So we keep him at distance, not by jabbing him out to distance, but by introducing a threat that makes him stay out there. Another threat, knees up the middle. But at the same time, he has seen this next layer of defense also his whole career. So these are the things that Wineland has to deal with. And when you fight, I think when you try to fight John Dodson, I think its strategy is less important than execution, because the strategy that is the correct strategy to use on him is the strategy he's faced every sparring session, every round, every day of his life.
But there's ego involved, and some fighters could take the approach, he hasn't faced me.
Yeah.
He hasn't been in there with a big, powerful guy who's been a champion that competes at the highest level. You can build your ego, or you can build your resume, showcase your resume based on the things that you've done in the sport. And for Eddie Wineland, he's done all those things. He is a confident guy. Because the idea is, you're not going to try to hold John Dodson down. You're not going to trap him against the cage, because you're right. He has, nobody's been able to really do that before. So when you're looking at high percentage things, is that what it just comes down to?
I think so. And I like your focusing on Wineland's precision. I think that's a key for Eddie, is he's trying to touch that chin, clean, precise, with that beautiful technique that he puts together, and footwork. He moves his feet in a really cool way. Not all that unlike how Cub Swanson moves, which is why hopefully if you're on John's team, you want him doing rounds with Cub, because although Cub is a more fluid fighter, there is some pivoting and some stepping off on angles and stuff, like higher level footwork that is less karate based.
What's the discrepancy? Well, when a fighter's at a certain weight, if you're Cub Swanson, you're 145 pounds. What's the highest and what's the lowest that you're sparring?
John will definitely spar guys at 45. And Cub, when I just saw him, was actually already lower 160s. So Dodson, I think I was chatting with him at the thing, and I think he gets at about 145, which is where he walks around. Maybe he's 150. If he's walking around at 145 to 150, that's the weight he can carry right up to fight week. And Cub's 163. We're good. We can definitely spar. He might be able to spar with Lando, at who's at probably 170 now. So he's able to get bigger. But bigger sparring partners has never been his problem.
Yeah,
he's had that. That has been something he's dealt with his whole life. And that makes him very fascinating to me at 135 pounds. Because whatever the advantages that you think you have or that you plan to use are the very same things that he has always faced. And he's become an expert at beating.
So if you're John Dodson and you have a guy like Eddie Wineland that has intangibles like toughness and experience, power,
true strength. Yeah, powerlifting strength. Yeah.
Is the assignment, okay, so what do you have to do? Is it just, I need to get to his jaw. I need to hurt this guy, because if I do not hurt him, he is going to hurt me.
Yeah, and so if we can, the chip away, or even you hear some people describe it in Thai as beat him up. Start here and move up to here and move up to there. That'd be nice for Dodson too. I mean, I love watching Eddie Wineland move. Yeah. Like I love because you're going to sacrifice a particular amount of lightness on the feet in trade for power. And yet Wineland has made that sacrifice, but then added an extra mobility while being pretty anchored to the ground. So he's a very dangerous guy. He generates a lot of force. So if you're Dodson, a game that he's faced many, many times, or an idea that he has executed many times is, you can't catch me, and when you finally do catch me later, I will have kicked your legs many, many times and punched your body and done all of this stuff to hopefully take away some of that power. I like Dodson in this fight, but it's a dangerous fight, man. Eddie Wineland, like, we've seen so many great moments out of Eddie Wineland. And as much as John's a friend and I'm a fan, I love to watch Eddie Wineland get his moments. And John's got to be ready for those.
135 pounds, very, very interesting time. Cody Garbrandt, the champion, is going to be taking on TJ Dillashaw. Dominic Cruz trying to get himself or keep himself in that mix. You look at Eddie Wineland and Dodson and some of the other big players. What do you think is the coolest matchup for Dominic Cruz before he gets another shot at the UFC championship?
Hey, man,
is it simply the winner of this fight?
I think maybe. Dodson beat TJ. If TJ's the champ, it's a lot easier for Dodson to go and make that big night money. He's had a couple of cracks at DJ, and he's done well. But he's beat TJ. He took him out, and he's got an argument in that case. But I don't know where Cruz is at, but I'd love to see Cruz fight either of these guys. That'd be fantastic. Personally, with Dominic Cruz doing everything he's done in the past, if and when he comes back, I think just give him the champ.
Very true, because Dominic Cruz, everything he's done in mixed martial arts, but it's what have you done for me lately? And Eddie, one of these guys flies through the air and a knockout occurs, I would not be surprised to see either Eddie Wineland or John Dodson in line for the next crack at 135 pounds.